right, everybody, we're going to be boys for Sunday, March 9th. Fuck it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live in studio. I'm Clayton.
Yeah, I'm Pat. So, Clayton, we're here in the lovely B.O. Boys studio at B.O. Boys HQ, just down the hall from the water fountain, the famous water fountain here at B.O. Boys HQ in studio. So, huge episode because we had so many releases this weekend.
Yeah.
We needed to be in the same room
Yeah.
to talk about all of them, even though most of them did not matter at the box office at all.
Not a whit.
So let's get into it because we have so much to go into. We got a boots on the ground reporting of a new movie from me, not a review, but boots
critics.
on the ground. We're not critics,
Huh?
So let's get into it. Clayton, could you give us an in-studio plow for the box office weekend of Friday, March 7th?
Number one, Mickey 17 made $19 million in its first weekend. Number two, Captain America Brave New World made $8.5 million, down 43%. It lost 320 theaters. It's at $176.5 million in its fourth weekend. Number three, Last Breath made $4.2 million, down 47%. It added 72 theaters. It's at $14.6 million in its second weekend of release. Number four, The Monkey made $3.9 million, down 39%. It lost 272 theaters. It's at $31 million in its third weekend of release. And number five, Paddington in Peru made $3.8 million, down only 15%, although it lost 620 theaters. It's at $36.9 million in its fourth weekend. And let's keep going. Number six, Dogman, $3.5 million, down 18%, lost 302 theaters. It's at $88.7 million in its sixth weekend of release. And number seven, your Best Picture winner, Anora, made $1.8 million. That's up 595%. It added 1,130 theaters. It's at $18.4 million in its 21st weekend of release. And the thing with that, Pat, is that it's no longer the lowest grossing Best Picture winner. It is now, I think it's still, what was the Catherine Bigelow, The Hurt Locker.
The Hurt Locker,
I believe The Hurt Locker is now back where it was, which is the lowest grossing Best Picture.
Not counting Nomadland and Coda.
Yeah, anything that was
the pandemic years.
The pandemic years. Yeah.
All right, so good for Anora. I mean, a real disgrace for Hurt Locker, for sure. A real indignity that Anora has passed it up. But it's great to see that the Oscars still mean some kind of a bump.
Mm-hmm.
And that there's enough people who hear about it winning Best Picture and then a week later are compelled to leave their house.
Yes.
Rather than just do this. And I'm making the remote control click. If you're watching us on YouTube, hey guys. This is what you could just be doing to watch Anora. You could just get the clicker, click, order PVOD with your clicker.
Well, I mean, you could go on the tube sites.
You could find it on the tube sites with your clicker.
Yeah.
One hand on the clicker, one hand on whatever.
Yeah.
But instead, people
your VR helmet.
This is Anora a must helmet? I was talking to industry insider Deep Popcorn, who's really, he knows everything about what's going on in the industry. He's big on VR helmets.
Yeah.
He keeps telling me VR helmets. My people are telling me VR helmets. He watches everything in his helmet now, Deep Popcorn. Is Anora, I mean, I would say it seems like that's a must helmet.
Yeah.
But people went and saw it in theater because it won Best Picture. I mean, Best Picture winners differentiate a movie from being a must helmet to a see it in theaters.
Yes. I think I mean that's what the Oscar Gold will do.
Yeah.
You go from helmet to maybe I'll get out of the house.
I'll leave the house. Cuz for sure a week and a half ago Anora is a VR helmet movie for most at-home consumers.
That's how most voters saw it.
Most voters saw it in helmet. And there were probably people who had already seen Nora in their at-home VR helmet.
Yeah.
Then it won Best Picture. And like, you know what? I'll see it a second time in public.
Yeah, they were like, I liked the clips that I saw.
Right.
And so maybe I'll watch the whole thing in order.
Right. Because it won.
Because it won Best Picture.
So, and that is the power of the Oscars. Get people to take off their VR helmets, put it on their VR helmet stand. Or you think they're using like a mannequin bus to put their VR helmet down?
You're
should
not just putting if you want to take care of it.
Right.
Yeah, if you're like serious about taking care of your VR helmet.
Right. You don't just leave it on the floor,
no.
Where a cat could get at it or
no.
Yeah. No. You put it on a full mannequin bus.
Yeah.
And then you get out and you go see Nora in theaters because it won Best Picture.
Well, do you think that Sean Baker won Best Editing because most people watch this movie VR helmet in clips? Like, do you think they thought the editing was, they were like, oh, this was great because the clips I saw that were edited for me to consume to the, best possible use of my VR helmet, that is what won him Best Editing. Not the actual experience at the theater, because it made bupkis at the theater. Let's be honest. Like, for a major motion picture, like 18, that's not. And that's post-Oscar.
Right.
So the movie did not make any money at the theater.
Right. Well, we'll see now. Do you think this Oscar bump continues for anything past this past weekend? Do you think people go back to the VR helmet this week?
I think so. Because culture moves so fast. I think the fact that this got the bump was good. It's more than I was expecting.
Right.
It put this movie out of the basement when it came to non-COVID era Best Pictures.
Right.
So that's good. But I think people are moving on.
They're moving on.
Yeah.
They're moving back to the watching it in clips on their VR helmet.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was a nice weekend excursion then for Nora, and it's great that it got past the Hurt Locker. It's not going to suffer the indignity of lowest non-COVID grossing Best Picture winner ever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, good for Nora.
Yeah.
And next week you go back to watching on your VR helmets instead of going to the theater. I mean, we got all these new movies, and we got to talk Mickey 17 opening weekend, My Boots on the Ground. I do want to touch on, because I saw it, Anthony D is for Disney, D. Alessandro mentioned it in his must-read Sunday AM right through. Netflix's The Electric State is going to be on streaming this week.
Yeah.
Not the Streamo Boys, huh?
Huh?
But it was in 2 theaters this weekend.
Was one of them the Paris?
One of them was not the Paris. It was 2 iPic theaters. iPic Westwood, which I guess is in LA, and iPic Fulton, which is there an iPic near Fulton Street in New York City. Is that? And I know there's an iPic not far from where we are right now, BO Boys HQ in Midtown West. But is there or is it iPic like Fulton County Stadium in Atlanta?
Who
and
knows?
An iPic there?
iPic Fulton.
But those are the 2 theaters where you could pay with, I don't know if it's American currency or Bitcoin at this point. I don't know how you see Netflix movies in theaters anymore.
Yeah.
But there were people who went and saw The Electric State with Chris Pratt and Millie Bobby Brown. And that is her name, Millie Bobby Brown. It always throws me when you say the Bobby Brown at the end. Don't you always feel like you're not saying her name correctly and you've gotten it wrong?
Absolutely, yes.
But it is Millie Bobby Brown.
Yes.
The new Russo Brothers extravaganza, $320 million budget, Electric State. We'll never have any idea of how many people saw it this weekend. Do you have a ballpark guess? How many people went to one of these iPics and paid to watch the Russo Brothers Electric State in theater this weekend?
It was just this weekend.
Just this weekend. It goes to Netflix on Friday.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday showings.
Yeah.
2 theaters.
2 theaters. The Electric State.
Wow.
A family robot adventure from the Russo brothers, the directors of the highest grossing movie of all time. Have you ever seen
2,000 people?
2,000 people. Okay. At $20 a pop, you're saying that then that's $40,000 worth of tickets sold?
Yeah.
Is that how much that would be? 40,000 or 400,000? That would be $20 a pop, 2,000 people, $40,000
Yes.
in tickets.
Yeah.
I guess so. I guess it could be that. 2,000
Do you think less
feels
people?
high. I think less. I mean, you have to factor in there's been zero promotion for this movie.
Yes.
At least geared towards seeing it in a movie theater.
Yeah.
Maybe at those iPicks, I would guess there are standees. Do you think those iPicks had electric state standees? Does Netflix even go as far as to send cardboard?
No way they send cardboard.
Yeah. I'd love, and saying this right into camera one here. Camera one, camera two, camera one, camera two.
Yeah.
Right into the camera here. If you are wanna-be-oh boy, wanna-be-oh girl, wanna-be-oh person who went to one of these iPicks, even if you didn't see the electric state, are there cardboard standees with Chris Pratt and Millie Bobby Brown telling people that the electric state is at this theater? I am inclined to think they didn't send cardboard.
No, there's no way they sent cardboard. For 2 theaters, for a movie that they have no intention of reporting any box office back, I feel like there's no way there was cardboard sent.
Yeah, because when movie studios make cardboard standees, they're printing them by the thousand to send to all of these theaters.
Yeah.
They're not cutting 2 standees.
No. Because where else would the standees, like, it's one of those things. Yeah, you
keep them in the offices.
If you go to a printer and ask for 2 standees, they're going to charge you up the wazoo.
Yes.
Right now, if you're like, I want 1,000 standees, they'll cut you a deal.
Yeah.
And as much as Netflix wasted on this movie, $320 million, I doubt they added standees to that budget.
Right. Yeah, there's a limit. You wouldn't think it on these Russo Brothers movies, but even Netflix is going to have a limit. And
do they have the worst track record of
being filmmakers?
Yeah, I was trying to describe what they are in my mind.
Right.
Because I didn't want to say auteurs because they're not.
It's hard not to say TV directors.
Yeah, sitcom directors.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, listen, these are the guys who did the paintball episode of Community.
Oh, that's true.
You know,
which is a modern classic for every annoying person you've ever talked to.
Yes.
At a party.
Do you think that is still a thing that is in the About Me section of dating profiles? Like, I feel like in the 2010s, if you were on a dating app, About Me, one of the things would just be paintball episode of Community.
Mm-hmm.
That tells you who
Dating
I am.
Me is like the paintball episode of Community.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I can't stop thinking about the paintball episode of Community.
Right. We don't talk enough about the paintball episode of Community. But and listen, I haven't been on the apps in a long time.
I know this for a fact.
Not on the apps.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that's still a thing on the apps where people are self-identifying who they are as a dater by just saying the paintball episode of Community. That's probably fallen off in the last few years, right?
Okay. I've been on the apps in the recent past.
Wow.
And I'm not seeing a lot of Community references.
Okay.
That might be because of the age bracket that I set my app to.
Right.
Which I'm not going to get into because that's personal.
Right.
And that's private.
You're seeing more About Me, the paintball episode of Barney Miller.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like a cougar.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
That's what you're seeing. So the Russo brothers, they're sitcom directors who also have directed the highest grossing movie ever made. Is Endgame still number one, or did
No,
did the
mean, let
Avatars
me check,
get ahead
because
of it?
I think they keep playing that game of re-release.
Yeah,
So let me check. I'm hoping it's Avatar.
but they're in that. At some point, the Russo brothers definitely had a claim to being the directors of the highest grossing movie of all time, and since then, it has been Streamo bomb after another. Right, Cherry, Electric State, The Gray Man. Those are the three post making the biggest movie of all time. Those are the three movies the Russo brothers have made.
They did Cherry too.
They did Cherry.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they
Cherry,
did.
Gray Man, and now the Electric State.
Wow, they did flirt with respectability for a second there with Cherry. I know it's an
Well,
Apple TV Plus movie, but
yeah.
still, that was a big book.
Right.
That was a literary adaptation.
Right. And now it's Millie Bobby Brown. I bring this up because again, we're not the Streamo boys, huh?
Huh.
But is that an example of a movie that could have done anything in the theater? I mean, we haven't seen it. We're not critics, huh?
Huh.
But I would assume this is terrible. I would assume it is a terrible movie. I just would have loved to see what these Russo brothers movies would have done in theaters.
I know, and we say
Just to know. I would love to know.
Yeah, we say we want everything to go to theaters.
Yeah.
And of course we want this to go to theaters.
Yeah, because I'd love to know. I'd love to have this public referendum on the Russo brothers.
And it's just more movies in the theater, and this would be a big movie. It's a big budget movie, so it should be seen on a big screen.
Right.
Because if it's going to fail, it might as well fail in public.
Right.
Because the problem is that people are going to watch this movie passively. They're going to throw it on, and so it's still going to count. But it's going to count towards Netflix. They're going to say it's the biggest premiere they've had since so-and-so, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, there is a press release that will go out next week after the movie drops on Netflix that has already been written.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they'll tweak a number here or there, but they already know what they're going to say about the Electric State's opening weekend on Netflix.
Yes.
It's going to be the biggest streaming event of all time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, you want to know. We're talking badly about the Russo brothers.
Yes.
And we don't want movies to come out and tank just because we don't necessarily respect the filmmaking talents of people.
Right.
We don't want that, because there is an appetite for these sort of movies, like Red One.
Mm-hmm.
That's a movie that was aimed at younger people, that was a little edgy and whatnot, and it almost made it to 100. It didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the budget was what it was, but at least Amazon put that in theaters.
Yeah,
and
in a real way.
In a real way.
We saw it in an AMC.
Yeah, and it's possible that Electric State does the same.
Mm-hmm.
Makes almost 100 million. The budget's so high that it's not going to succeed in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
But then when it drops on Netflix,
mm-hmm.
then people watch it in the same amount that they would watch it if it wasn't in theaters.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I just think that is, we've talked about this with Netflix, is like, they obviously want to kill theaters because there's no other reason why they wouldn't use the promotion that a theatrical release does to their benefit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Unless they want to starve theaters.
And that is what they want to do. It is clear now.
Yeah.
There's no argument against that Netflix film strategy is to starve and kill movie theaters because they want everyone to be at home at all times.
Yes.
Chris Pratt,
mm-hmm.
a man who obviously has his convictions, has his things he believes in.
Yeah.
Can we say right now Chris Pratt does not believe in movie theaters? Because he is once again doing a Streamo-only movie at a time when he, as at the height of his movie stardom.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a situation where he's relegated to Streamo like a Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
I think in a lot of ways, it's the best he could do. And he's not Millie. Like, I don't blame Millie Bobby Brown because she is a Streamo only entity.
Well, I think
she is not a real world entity. Millie Bobby Brown exists in the Streamo universe only. And that's fine. That is where she was born. That is where she will exist.
And that's
that
where
is
she'll
where
die.
she will perish. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the other thing is, I isn't she owned by Netflix in the sense that, you know how the Britney Spears' dad was in control of her.
Okay.
I feel like it isn't Ted Sarandos doesn't he like have control over her?
I haven't seen any free Millie Bobby Brown videos.
Because I just don't think people care enough.
Yeah.
To do that.
Right. But
it's conservatorship is Ted Sarandos has a conservatorship over Millie Bobby Brown.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is your Joe Namath that you were just doing.
I don't care if I'm struggling with that
word.
Sentence. Yeah. I want to, but I want to kiss you.
I think that is a very possible legal situation.
Yeah.
That everyone seems to be okay with.
Yeah.
And it's probably a better deal than whatever Britney Spears was getting from her conservatorship.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, Millie Bobby Brown, her being in a Netflix movie, of course you don't blame her. That is what she does. But Chris Pratt, once again, taken the paycheck to do a movie that is meant to hurt the theatrical business.
Yeah.
At what point do people start to say to this guy, what the are you doing?
Yeah.
What the are you doing?
Yeah, and about
why not use, and I know he did the Guardians movies, and he'll
voice of Garfield,
and they'll wheel him out to do a Jurassic Park movie someday, and whatever. But you when you're a star and you do these big budget Netflix movies, you know what the deal is, and you know what the purpose is, and the mission of these movies are.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what you're taking the paycheck to do. You're not taking the paycheck because they want you to improve the quality of the movie. You're taking the paycheck to help take down movie theaters.
Yes. I mean, you can obviously the internet has gone against Chris Pratt for a lot of reasons, but it's never been this.
It's never been the right reason.
Yeah. And he did have that window of stardom that few people get.
Mm-hmm.
And most people in the past tried to maximize.
Yes.
And I mean, okay. I hate to praise someone like Chris Hemsworth.
Okay.
But the very least, sure, he had Extraction.
Yep, and Extraction 2.
And Extraction 2. But he did try and have a big budget theatrical release movie star career.
Yep.
He tried to jump onto existing franchises the way that The Rock did. He tried to, totally transform himself to be other characters like in Furiosa. He tried a lot of different things.
El Royale.
He tried to do the Tarantino ripoff, pseudo indie movie.
Yep.
He's tried everything. And he tried it all at the theaters.
Men in Black sequels, yeah.
But he did Spider Island or whatever that movie was.
He did Spiderhead for Netflix.
Spiderhead.
He did.
But I mean, he also did theatrical movies. It was just all part of a big thing. Chris Pratt has rarely used that sort of runway he had to try and launch theatrical films.
Yeah. I mean, people will come back with the voiceover stuff. He is Super Mario, but that's still not him using his star power to launch theatrical movies.
No. I mean, and even so Passengers
listen, giant crosses are expensive, and I think that is. It seems to be that is his main concern more than movie theaters. Like, we obviously have different priorities in life, the B.O. Boys versus Chris Pratt.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think that's the thing, is that is sad, and I think his window of being a theatrical star has passed,
Mm-hmm.
and he sort of cut it off for the upfront money.
Yeah.
And when you look at somebody like Sandler, right? The reason Sandler went to Netflix is because he saw the the box office of Pixels, and he saw, this is trending downward.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably not going to be at the same level that I was, which he had a spectacular run.
Right.
And
Let
he
it rip.
maximized his run.
Yeah.
I don't think he cut his run short,
Mm-hmm.
right? He went to Netflix at the right time, was able to make the movies he wanted to make. And now if he comes back with a theatrical film, there's a want and a need for it. Where I think Chris Pratt cut himself off at the knees because he still had a few years of being a big top line movie star that could have really helped the theaters.
Right. 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 I think something that will get you when the movie comes out is Happy Gilmore 2, Adam Sandler. Wish that was a theatrical release and not a Netflix movie.
Yeah.
Because that's the one where I do think we could have had an actual hit theatrical comedy if that had been theater. So we'll talk about that when that comes out. But let's start talking about the big theatrical releases that did come out this week, including the movie I saw on Friday night. I saw our number one movie of the weekend, Mickey 17. Okay. And this movie made what, 19.5 is what they're calling it at for the weekend. Obviously, we're on the Sunday. It could go up or down a little bit on Monday, but it's
19.1.
19.1. So the opening weekend, based on what the estimates in the range were, it's fine.
It didn't completely collapse.
It didn't. And I think let's put budget aside. Just the fact that this movie opened to 19, based on what it is, sci-fi, high concept, sort of comedy.
Yeah.
And Pattinson is obviously super famous. It has been in huge hits, but is in that weird, is he actually a movie star? Is he just like a famous person who's bankable when he's in IP like Batman and Twilight? The 19 million itself is not bad, taking away the budget. You know, it is, for this type of movie. I think it kind of shows that the Parasite, from the director of Parasite thing, did matter. Because there's a version of this movie that I guess came out 15 years ago called Moon that opens at $1.1 million and makes like $8 million.
But is that a major? I mean, was there a major studio pushing that film?
Yeah, no, I get it. This was a lot of promotion and all that, but I think the 19 million for what this movie actually is, taking aside the budget, doesn't reflect poorly on the bankability of Pattinson and Bong Joon-ho.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at Anthony D. Alessandro's write-up, and we're looking at something like Ad Astra, which was a Brad Pitt post-Oscar win.
Yes, post Once Upon a Time.
Yeah. Opened in 19.
Or post, it might have been the fall after Once Upon a Time opened in the summer, or it was the following year.
He definitely was back in a way.
Well, Once Upon a Time opened in July of 2019.
Yeah.
I think was Ad Astra September of 2019, because it wasn't post-pandemic.
Yes.
So it came out in between Once Upon a Time coming out and him winning the Oscar.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, height of, not height of Brad Pitt stardom, but like Brad Pitt is on a huge high when Once Upon a Time comes out. And is a forever movie star.
Yeah. Mickey 17 looked more fun, if you think that stuff is fun.
Right.
Than Ad Astra. Ad Astra obviously felt more adult, more grown up, more thoughtful than this movie.
Yeah, ponderous sci-fi.
Yeah, ponderous sci-fi. And then Jupiter Ascending opened at 18.3.
Right.
And I mean, these were all looked at as real underperformers.
Right.
But I get what you mean. I mean, this movie just felt like such a looming disaster in a way that maybe Jupiter Ascending felt like, but
Right.
but Ad Astra didn't really feel that way.
I mean, this could have been the 65 opening weekend, which was what, like $10 million?
Oh, you mean with the I'm actually in the past, but I'm a spaceman.
Yeah.
Movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that movie, I feel like that opened 10, 11, 12 million. And there's a world in which Mickey 17, the interest is so low that that's what it opens at, even with all the promotion. So I think the 19 million is a fine reflection of Robert Pattinson's ability to get people to go to a movie.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, no, or do you think, I mean, because you said Bong Joon-ho, I mean, do you think that he was the driver of this more than Pattinson?
I think this is the opening weekend, again, budget aside, is good for both of them.
Uh-huh.
I think that Bong Joon-ho is probably not going to get 100 million to make his next movie. But I don't think I think the 19 million says, okay, he is someone who has name value as a movie director. And if you budget it correctly, you could make a lot of money on a Bong Joon-ho movie.
But when does any studio ever budget correctly?
Right.
Other than Sony does a pretty good job
Right.
with their stuff.
And Anthony D. Alessandro, he kept bringing up The Brutalist as the perfect way to budget a movie, which people got to stop using The Brutalist as a low budget movie. They filmed it in Bulgaria.
Yeah.
They were not paying people.
Yes. They used AI.
They use AI. So it definitely looked better than what they spent for it.
Yeah.
The scale of that movie looks so much bigger than a $10 million movie, but we don't want it's one thing like, okay, now we film everything in Vancouver and Atlanta. I don't think we want to have to film every big studio movie in Bulgaria.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, absolutely.
To keep the budget low.
And then there's like
the guy who's the producer who dates Lala from Vanderpump Rules. That's where he makes his movies.
Yes.
But it shouldn't be where Warner Brothers now has to make their movie.
Yeah, Bong Joon-ho's second movie after this shouldn't be produced by the guy who's married to Lala from Vanderpump Rules.
Yes.
Yeah, and when you look at The Brutalist, you look at, it won some Oscars. You won for score. The gentleman who used to be in a great band called Yuck won. He's like the lead singer and songwriter for that group. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. He's not Trent Reznor and Atticus Fitch or whatever.
Atticus Ross.
Atticus Ross. Yeah. So those guys get the highest paycheck.
Yes.
This guy now, he won an Oscar. People know about him. He's going to expect a higher paycheck than he got on The Brutalist.
Yes.
So you're not going to get him for the same price that you got him for The Brutalist.
Yes.
And it's similar to other people that are working on movies like that.
Brutalist 2 will not be able to be made for $10 million, even if you film it in Bulgaria.
Because the talent's going to want more. The cinematographer's going to want more.
Yes.
The guy who wrote the score is going to want more.
Yeah. The guy who makes Brady Corbett's fucking hat is going to want more per hat than would he charge Brady Corbet for the first movie.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing. You're right. I mean, and that's the thing is like you want Bong Joon-ho to be able to use his skills and have a budget to make those things happen. But there is a level.
Yeah, there is a level. So, boots on the ground.
Yeah.
I saw this movie on Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
We're not critics, huh?
Huh.
This is not a review, huh?
Huh.
And if you go to the BO Boys Substack, I did do a This Is Not a Review discussion of Mickey 17 on the Substack.
That.
So that's
it was not a review.
Not a review. This movie is terrible. We're not critics, huh?
Huh. Not a review.
But I think the reason that I feel the need to talk about the quality, or at least my experience of the quality of this movie, is that this is the kind of movie we want more of. Great director doing an original movie. Though I guess it was based on a book, but based on a book is original. We're
Because
talking.
people don't read books.
Yeah, it's not a superhero movie. It's not a comic book movie. It's not a sequel. So it's an original property.
Yes.
And we want more of these. But if these movies, it is what it is. These movies have to be great in order to work.
Mm-hmm.
Because a superhero movie could be terrible. Although now, obviously, there's less leeway for that.
Yeah.
A sequel, a movie that people feel comfortable because they know the property, the bar for those is lower.
Well, Inside Out 2.
Still work. Inside Out 2.
I'm not going to say that's a terrible movie, but down the line, people have said that it doesn't say anything new from the first one.
Right.
And it's not as good as the first one.
Right.
And that is an example of a movie that made more money than its quality probably, it made more money than the amount of good that movie was.
Sure. Yeah.
That was a way clearer way to say it.
Yes, definitely.
That was the best way to say that.
That is the best way. That is the best series of words that could have been put together for that thought.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
So the original movies like this have to be good for it to work, for there to be more of them. And so there just is that responsibility because you want the leeway for a Bong Joon-ho to think freely and try something new.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sorry, you can't make bad ones. You can't make these movies terrible now because that is the climate of the theatrical business that we're in.
Yeah,
and there is just less room to fuck around.
Yeah.
So the fact that this movie is such a mess is bad for the theatrical business, and that is heavy as the head that wears the crown.
Yeah.
But that is what it is. And so, I mean, my biggest problem with this movie, in terms of who really screwed the pooch here, is I'm throwing so much of this on Mark Ruffalo.
Okay.
And I know he's just an actor, and actors are puppets.
Actor, activist.
But he is an actor/activist. And I think on this one, maybe for the time they were filming this, he devoted more time to his activism and less time to his acting, and that came through. But this is, again, the type of movie where if this movie, flops, and it opened to 19, but I could see this really falling off a cliff now, you're going to have less opportunities for studios to make this type of movie. And a lot of it comes back to Mark Ruffalo gives one of the worst performances I've ever seen in a movie in my, won't reveal how many years, but several years of...
We can guess.
You could guess.
If you're watching, you get the whole story. You can guess Pat's age.
Yeah. Put it in the comments underneath. Guess how old I am, how many years I've been watching movies.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the worst things I've ever seen on screen is Mark Ruffalo in this movie.
Yeah.
And that's going to go down the line, lead to worse movie, a worse box office take, less opportunity going forward for original auteur-driven adult skewing movies getting financed.
Yeah.
That is the path that starts with Mark Ruffalo coming on set and doing some of the worst on-screen bullshit that has ever been committed to film.
Not a review.
Not a review. But business-wise, we can make a case that Mark Ruffalo has cost this industry millions of dollars, millions of jobs, millions of dollars spent on original adult skewing, original movies down the line because of what he did in Mickey 17.
Yeah. I mean,
Not to lay all the blame on him, but some of it has to go to him.
I wonder how he sleeps at night. If he's even, I think once he hears this, because we know he listens, he might toss and turn a little bit.
Right.
Because most likely he's surrounded by yes men.
Mm-hmm.
And
And yes, women.
and yes, women, and yes, people.
Yeah.
And so I hope this is a little shot of reality for him, a little bit of a rude awakening. But I mean, here's the thing: he's been really good in a lot of things too. So he's
He has.
capable of quality work. And he had to step up his game for this, especially because of, like you said, how much this is weighed compared to a crappy Pixar sequel and a crappy superhero movie sequel. It it's just so much harder to perform this trick.
It's so much more important that Mickey 17 was great.
Yeah.
Because if Mark Ruffalo on an Avengers sequel as like the fifth banana in one of those movies, that's when he decided he wanted to put on some big fake teeth and do a insanely, you know, musical theater level Trump impression as a character.
Yeah, have a laugh.
If he wanted to just have a laugh and do his Trump impression
Take a piss.
as the Incredible Hulk,
Yes.
do that, because it doesn't matter. It's not going to affect the box office of that movie. Screw around in that movie.
Yeah, imagine
But
that.
but come buttoned up when you're trying to get an original IP adult skewing movie to do well at the box office. That is not fake teeth fuck around time.
Yeah.
That is, this has to be good.
Yeah, because imagine, in Thunderbolts,
Mm-hmm.
if you have this asterisk,
Thunderbolts asterisk, official title.
if you have Mark Ruffalo as a Hulk, they get him angry, he hulks up, and he's doing his Trump Hulk, and one of them's like, "Oh, they come in orange now."
Mm-hmm.
Great, you can do that.
You could do that
because that's not going to affect the future of movie going. That's
Right.
not going to affect the future of Marvel movies.
Right.
You can't do that in a auteur, this is this guy's vision, what he wants to do. This is his original concept, of course, book, whatever.
Right.
Original
Bookstore,
concept that we want to get across and have the people who are so used to the same old to jump over to.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not gonna work. And I there is.
It's tough because it's like, this is the movie where what we want is for them to give us something new and exciting.
Well, artists should lead, and Bong Joon-ho is an artist,
Right.
but also you're working in a commercial field. So if you want to do the big popcorn movie, there has to be some acknowledgement of commercial prospects.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, the thing is, it just has to be done better because, again, the quality of the movie is so tied to the ability of the movies to have success, in a way that quality of a superhero movie,
yes,
or quality of IP movies,
yeah,
doesn't matter as much.
Yeah.
A Jurassic World movie just has to be passable and have the dinosaurs, and it'll do fine.
That's probably the perfect example of a non-superhero, non-Pixar sort of sequel thing. That the reason I drafted the new Jurassic World movie
Mm-hmm.
is because people are always going to want to see dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily matter the context of it. If it's a Jurassic movie, there's going to be a contingent of young people who see it, middle-aged people who see it, and older people who see it because it's dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you can get away with some crap in those movies.
Right. And famous dinosaurs. That's the thing. It's like, these are the most famous dinosaurs that
Yes,
exist.
absolutely.
People of generations have watched these dinosaurs.
They're not the 65 dinosaurs.
They're not.
Which nobody wants to see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing. Listen, if Ruffalo wants to be a dinosaur hunter that's dressed like Trump in that movie, again, that's not going to make a difference.
Yes. They could drop Mark Ruffalo into Jurassic World 4.
Yeah.
And he could do his Trump impression with the big teeth.
Yeah.
And be unwatchable and it won't affect that box office at all. Maybe people will comment like, that's weird, he's in that, and I don't love that that was happening, but
Yeah.
mainly I would turn my head away from Mark Ruffalo and look at the dinosaurs, and I'd be happy.
Yeah, there's a velociraptor.
Exactly. So we're not making the argument here that we want these to be commercially focused in the sense that don't try things, but the quality bar of Mickey 17 is so tied to whether it will do well and whether you can make more of these. And in a way that's just the way it is now. You know, like Scorsese making New York, New York in 1977 is not going to affect the ability for adult-driven movies to come out
No.
in movie theaters in 1978.
Yeah.
But that is the situation we're in here. When you get a Mickey 17 financed, it can't be this type of disaster. And want to mention Toni Collette, I think, is kind of the winner of this project in that she also is one of the worst things I've ever seen in a movie, her performance in this. But because Mark Ruffalo was so bad, she, I think, is gonna be able to go unnoticed for how bad she is in this.
Okay.
And again, we're not critics, Usually this is not, this is not one of those talk about a movie and say how bad it is for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Not what we do.
Nope.
So I'm congratulating her for being this bad in a movie where Mark Ruffalo was also so historically hard to watch.
Yeah.
And she does, though. She's often, we talk about it, someone who's a terrible trailer actress, but then is great in the actual movie.
Yeah.
This is, I think, one of the first times where the trailer is a great representation of just how bad she actually is in the actual movie.
Okay. They gave us what we were expecting.
Yeah. Yeah. So Mickey 17, I think, is going to fall off a cliff going forward. The opening weekend was the star power of Pattinson and Bong Joon-ho's goodwill from Parasite got it to a decent opening weekend
and PLF,
number.
I mean, can't put aside that this movie probably did really well in PLFs.
Right. Yeah, I think Deadline said that it was 50% of the tickets sold were at IMAXs and PLFs. Which I guess it'll have next weekend. The 14th has a bunch of new movies coming out, but Snow White's not until the following weekend. So it'll probably keep a lot of those IMAXs. I don't think it's going to lose too many to like Novocaine and Opus.
Yeah.
But I do think this movie's going to fall off a cliff because it's just not good.
Oh, yeah.
In whatever that word means to you.
The word of mouth on this is going to be really bad. I mean, anybody that I know who's seen it has said the same things as you.
Yeah.
We had a friend who will go unnamed who was texting us and said, the more I think about this movie, the less I like it.
Yes.
So it like the review coming out of it was not good.
I think a lot of us, and especially a lot of the people who see it opening weekend, were just so in the bag for Bong Joon-ho. We all remember the excitement of Oscars February 2020, seeing him win Best Picture when it could have been 1917, seemed to be the one that was going to win. And, people love that Parasite one. We love that movie.
Yeah.
And everyone's tempering their disappointment.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
But I don't think Joe Lunchpail and Nancy Q. Cruchet are going to temper their disappointment in the same way as a lot of us in the media are.
Yeah.
We're holding back.
I think
because we like the guy.
Yeah.
Bong Joon-ho, director Bong, he gave Scorsese a standing ovation in his Oscar speech. Classy. We all love him personally. So we're holding back.
Yeah.
But I don't think the average moviegoer holds back because they liked his Oscar speech 5 years ago.
So Mickey 17, Gunna Crater next weekend. Captain America finally pushed from its perch. This is a movie that's at 176. Still in a lot of theaters. Probably going to make it to 2.
Well, how much did it make this weekend?
So it made 8.
I don't think it's got 23 point something million left if it's making 8 now.
So you think at this point it stops at 190 something?
Yeah, I'm going to bet it doesn't get to 200 domestic.
Okay.
I mean, as much as superhero movies are on the wane, that is the perfect example of the difference in quality bar that is still expected to get people to go see one of those movies. Because by all accounts, that is a pretty bad movie.
Yeah.
And 176 is not what MCU movies made 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But it also was not terrible. And it's so much more than what Mickey 17 is going to end up at. Like, Mickey 17 will end up probably at 60 million or less. I don't think it has a more than a 3 times multiplier.
No.
So that's the difference between those type of movies. Captain America, Brave New World could be mediocre and still get itself to almost 200 domestic.
Yeah.
And Mickey 17 doesn't have that luxury.
Well, because it
has to be good.
There's a built-in inertia to a lot of that stuff where it's a known quantity, even though it's not the same Captain America that everybody actually loves. It's still something that you know what you're getting into when you go, where these original or auteur-driven big budget movies, you need to be paying attention. You need to be taught something new from the jump, where you can jump into a Captain America movie. And if you want to know everything that's going on, you can, but also you can just be like, it's a superhero movie and this is the bad guy and this is the MacGuffin that they have to stop and this is the big third act bad CGI fight. It's all so predictable, and sometimes people want that. Something like Mickey 17, I don't know how predictable it ends up being as like a story, but you still have to be introduced to a new world and new characters and new concepts in a way that you're not in Marvel movies at this point.
Right. So, yeah, that's a difference, and it's why we went so hard, or I went so hard on this movie.
Yeah,
is that it just has more on its shoulders than something like Captain America isn't going to have.
Now, real quick, because we didn't talk about this in our plow, but we did talk about some new movies that opened on our preview episode.
Okay.
And so we got number 9, Rule Breakers, the Angel Studios movie, where if you bought early, you could send you and your teacher or mentor.
You could enter to win a vacation for yourself and your teacher.
Either together or separately. We still don't have any sort of clarity on
I think it's together.
That.
I can't imagine, again, that Angel Studios is getting separate hotel rooms. So I'm pretty sure you buy a ticket to see that movie, and then you are entered in a raffle to win a hotel room for you and your teacher together.
Yeah. And then you have to call down for the cot.
Yes.
For the
and
teacher.
toothbrushes.
Yeah. So one
because your teacher is forgetting their toothbrush.
Yeah.
100%.
Even though Mark Curry had a whole show reminding us not to do that. So 1.5, number 10 in The Land of the Lost with Mila Jovovich and Dave Bautista made $1 million.
Okay.
So that was only in 1,370 theaters.
So that is enough that our good pal Chris Clemmer of Barstool had to see all of these movies, because he will go see every wide release that opens in 1,000 theaters or more until he gives up on doing that, probably sometime in April.
Yeah.
But he was texting me over the weekend that he was getting the theater counts and being very disappointed when he realized, shit, I've got to go see In the Land of the Lost. He also did have to see Zoopocalypse.
Yeah, so that is not on the chart anywhere. So I don't think they.
He did find a theater count. It was
Okay.
1,400 theaters.
So I'm curious as to what that made. Maybe they didn't report what the movie made because it's not on the numbers list.
And we didn't get any numbers for Queen of the Ring
No.
either. Which that feels like a movie that could have been in an incredibly small amount of theaters.
Yeah,
The
although there
Mildred
was
Burke biopic.
an AEW tie-in with that movie.
Yes.
And there was an altercation on the red carpet for that movie.
Yes.
Yes.
They did have Timeless Tony Storm was attacked at the premiere of Queen of the Ring.
Yeah.
And I did see footage of that, and it did look like the premiere was maybe taking place in a lobby of a Hilton.
Yes.
It did not look like this was at the old Ziegfeld Theater.
Well, it could have been a
level
VFW
premiere.
hall like they did for Aquaman 2.
Yeah. So I don't think that movie, I don't think that Chris Clemmer is going to have to see Queen of the Ring.
Okay, so now here I'm seeing on the disgraced Box Office Mojo,
Mm-hmm.
they have it number 11.
Have which movie?
Night of the Zoopocalypse.
Okay.
They don't have a theater count, but they have it making 200 grand. Wait, is this the weekend or is this? No, okay, sorry. This is daily. Where's the weekend?
Because 200 grand in 1,400 theaters, we're talking a sub Playmobil the movie.
Sorry, okay, my
opening.
bad. They still don't have a theater count, but they're saying it's number 10 over in the Lost Lands.
Wow.
So they're saying this made 1 million. So this made $1 million. Okay, let's see. Yeah. So yeah, it's just edging out the Lost Lands by about 17,000.
Okay.
So 1,060,000 and Lost Lands 1,043,000.
So this is okay. So Paul W.S. Anderson, director in The Lost Lands, he's been on a decline. He definitely has his fan base.
Yeah.
We went through not Underworld. What was his? That's the Kate Beckinsale. What is his?
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil. So obviously the Resident Evil movies specifically have a fan base. We went through the international totals of those movies was shocking.
Yeah.
So In the Lost Land is not that IP,
Mm-mm.
but only $1 million does show that his personal brand is maybe at a low right now.
Yeah.
And Mila Jovovich, her personal brand is at a low.
Yeah.
Dave Bautista, we talked about, this doesn't really matter for him. But I mean, none of the three of them were able to overperform this movie in any way.
No.
And it is a sort of zombie movie, but it was a sad-looking zombie movie. So yeah, there's not much to glean from this other than Paul W.S. Anderson. Do him and Mila Jovovich run back to Resident Evil? Do you think that this, because there was a Resident Evil that they were not really involved in.
Mm-hmm.
Does this get them to go back to that franchise? Do they retreat after this movie?
If it's available to them, I mean, I think they might be trying to reboot Resident Evil in some way to refresh it without them.
So I'm looking for Queen of the Ring numbers. I did see a tweet from wrestling journalist Dave Meltzer. He said, Box Office Mojo regarding last night's numbers didn't list Queen of the Ring in the top 21. Number 21 was $377. So obviously it did better than that. But I guess we won't have any estimate until tomorrow at this time. So he does not have anything other than he took a look at the Box Office Mojo chart. That's not his area of expertise.
No. His is wrestling and ratings, TV ratings, right?
Yeah. Is it possible though that Queen of the Ring made less than $377 total?
Yeah.
It is possible,
It's very
right?
possible, yeah.
Like, is that a movie that was possibly on as few screens as Electric State?
I would say it's over 2 screens,
Yeah.
but I don't know how many more.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be a movie that did make in the hundreds of dollars this weekend.
It's possible.
Um Anything that you take from the Rule Breakers opening? I mean, that also only made what, $1.3 million?
Yeah.
So the religious church bus movies obviously they're not a sure thing. You can't just slap church bus on a movie and it's going to do well.
I don't even think this is a church bus movie
Mm-hmm.
because it's about women in Iran coding.
Okay. Code, yeah.
Is that
So
what
it's
it's
not necessarily church bus. So this was a Angel Studios branching out, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure listen, we haven't seen it and probably never will. There's probably some evangelizing that happens in this movie. I would assume, just based on Angel Studios, just modus operandi, there's probably some kind of evangelizing. Maybe there's not, but there probably is some aspect of that.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not overt in the promotion.
Yeah.
So even if this is a church bus movie, the promotion of it wasn't church busy enough to get the church people on the bus.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're trying to aim more at family
Right.
movies
Right.
as opposed to necessarily all church bus movies.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though they have angels in the title of their studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So none of those other releases did any better than we would have thought they could do.
No.
And Zoopocalypse is the one that, just because it's a kid's cartoon, I wouldn't have been surprised if you looked and that had made 6 or 7 million. Obviously, it did not. It made 1 million.
I think kids can. I mean, if you're taking, no offense to Scott Thompson, but if you're taking your kid to a movie where one of the most prominent voices is Scott Thompson, they're going to ask you, "Is everything okay?
Yeah.
Are we poor?
Right.
Are we poor?"
Right. Right.
Because if you go see Paddington and Dogman,
Mm-hmm.
those are movies that are released by major companies
Mm-hmm.
with high budgets
Mm-hmm.
and good quality talent behind, or at least talent at close to the height of where they are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get taken to this low budget Canadian cartoon and you think, oh man, like, am I going to get a new winter jacket next year?
Right.
I think it's depressing.
Right. Even if the tickets cost the same.
It doesn't matter. They'll be like, did you use EBT to buy this ticket?
Right, right. So that is because even if the tickets cost the same, there is something about seeing Zoopocalypse that, if you're a kid, does start to make you wonder if your parents are okay.
Yeah.
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 I could see that. I could see that, just that poster striking a little fear, and not the fear that a zombie cartoon is supposed to strike into a kid.
Yeah.
But just the fear of, am I about to be shipped out because my parents can't afford me anymore?
Is that my future? Is like knockoff entertainment?
Right.
Am I
right.
going to be, like, when I go home, is Netflix going to be still on the TV, or is it going to be all Tubi for me?
Right. Right.
And not that Tubi isn't great, but it's free.
Right. Right.
You know?
So yeah, nothing else sticks out this weekend. Do you want to take a look at some of the mailbag that we have?
I mean, I don't know if there's anything in there. I haven't looked.
let's see. I think that we did get a few things the last. Oh, here's one that we got just today from Dave from SJ. Wannabe oh boy, Dave from SJ.
San Jose?
You're about to find out in the first sentence. So the subject is scam or sincere. And he writes, "Hey boys, Dave from South Jersey here. I wanted to get your opinion, something I witnessed recently. I went to see My Dead Friend Zoe, an uneven yet seemingly well-intentioned movie about military veterans, their struggles to re-enter civilian life. At the end of the movie, there is the usual text about how this was inspired by actual events, gives some statistics about the subject matter. Then it invites the audience to stick around for some words from the director and cast. After 2 minutes of credits and photos, the director and cast individually appear on the screen along with a QR code to pay it forward. It states that this will go to others to view the film for free. Is this a Sound of Freedom scam? I didn't see that movie, but it sounds suspiciously like what has been described on the BO Boys. Do they actually believe this film would play long enough in theaters to pay it forward? Something to point out before you decide is that one of the actors speaking about the opportunity is Ed Harris. He simply calmly spoke about the film and how important the subject matter is. He wasn't scowling or angrily pointing at the screen, demanding the audience pay it forward. He didn't even perform his creepshow dance. So, what do you think? Was this a sincere gesture or a scam? Dave from SJ.
I mean, it's a scam.
It's a scam, but I think it is a sincere scam. And I think scams, there doesn't have to be that choice of is this a scam or is this sincere?
Uh-huh.
Because I think from Ed Harris's point of view, he sincerely wants this scam to work. And the producers of that movie are sincere, while they also know they are performing a scam.
Yeah.
So I think that there could be scams that are more nefarious.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a scam that tries to get more people to buy movie tickets can be sincere while
Yeah.
also being a scam.
Well, the best way to scam somebody is to be sincere about what you want them to do.
Yes, yes.
You can't sort of be ironic about scamming somebody.
And so this is my best friend Zoe. So my
I'm
dead
looking.
friend Zoe. So this movie came out just a few weeks ago, or came out last week, February 28th. Um, so this movie stars Natalie Morales, who you might know from sitcoms and the lead of a great narrative podcast that's out there, Morgan Freeman and Ed Harris. So I I don't think that the producers of this movie sincerely think that their scam at the end is helping veterans. But I do think that they think that their scam will sincerely get people to see this movie,
Mm-hmm.
which they sincerely believe in and sincerely can profit from.
Yeah.
So there is sincerity in what they are doing.
Yeah.
And I don't think we need to look down upon them, but it is a scam. Anytime a QR code is introduced, it's a scam.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if Mickey 17 ended with a QR code, you'd be like, "Oh, this whole movie was a scam."
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you know what? It would have made me it would have been something
Mm-hmm.
in that movie.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have liked it less because there was a QR code at the end of Mickey 17.
Yeah.
But I that's the thing. If you are seeing a QR code come up in pretty much any context,
Mm-hmm.
it is a scam.
It's funny because the post credit stinger became a thing with the Marvel movies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that you're always trained now for every movie because of the Marvel movies. You think maybe there's going to be a stinger. But now we're seeing a lot of QR codes. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
people are going to be sitting waiting for what the QR code scam is.
Right.
And I think that's something that if you can start making that an anticipatory experience,
Mm-hmm.
the way that the Stinger post Marvel
Mm-hmm.
and then of course post DC, that's when the QR code is going to go like mainstream
Mm-hmm.
as just one of the things that you wait in your seat and sit through all of the VFX people and all the thank yous and all the, you know, uh, various people it took to make this movie. And then you're sitting there and you're like, oh, there's a QR code. Let's see what the scam is.
Mm-hmm.
That is when the scams are really going to pop off, when it becomes a thing that people anticipate.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. That's why I think that this is all a good thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something that could be used to drum up interest in seeing a movie,
Mm-hmm.
the way that the Stingers had been for the superhero movies.
Yeah.
And listen, then there will be a point, like there were with the Stingers, where it jumps the shark.
Yeah.
You know, when you watch one of these Angel Studios movies and then the scam starts after the credits and the QR code pops up and then Harry Styles walks on screen having not been in this movie, and he's the one direct to camera talking about the scam. That's when we've jumped the shark, because then it's Harry Styles is here.
Mm-hmm.
We're never going to see him in an Angel Studios movie. We're never going to see this scam actually come to fruition.
I don't know. I think Harry Styles is too exciting. I think it's got to be the guy from Ted Lasso.
Yeah,
He's the one.
but I think Harry Styles is still, that is a moment when the Stinger jumped the shark.
The Star Fox moment.
Yeah, the Star Fox moment. And when you have that Star Fox moment in the Angel Studios post-credit scam, that's the moment where we start to say, okay, now these things are on the decline. But I think Ed Harris, direct to camera, telling you the scam, that is, to me, a sign that these scams, quality wise, are heading in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
That now Ed Harris feels comfortable being in it, lending his star power to a scam.
Yeah.
I think this is a good time for the post credits QR code scam.
Yeah, you got to make it so that these, when you write a script, you always want an actor to read it and say, this is a good part for me.
Yep.
And similarly, you want to be able to have a scam that a big star says, this is a great scam for me.
This is a great, yes.
You want the Tom Cruises and the Brad Pittses and the Timothy Chalamet. I mean, if you can get a Chalamet to do a QR code scam at the end of a movie, I mean, that's going to be a huge scam. That'd be an unprecedented scam. You know what I mean?
Yep. I think we're going to get there.
Yeah.
I really hope that in the next couple of years we don't see Timothy Chalamet have to do a superhero movie.
No.
But I'd love to be in a movie. They say stay tuned after the credits for a scam. And it's Timothy Chalamet, and it's in a movie he had been in.
Yeah, yeah.
Giving you the direct to camera. If you hit the QR code, you'll be able to get a ticket for someone else. And then then we're at a point where, man, this is the height of these QR code scams.
Yeah.
Chalamet's doing them.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to get there.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Ed Harris is a good direction. Obviously, there's still in 2025, there's a gap in star power between Ed Harris and Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah.
But Timothy Chalamet now knows, I'm sure he's grew up as a fan of Ed Harris.
Yeah, he must have seen Milk Money.
He grew up, someone showed him a Milk Money. He's seen all the Ed Harris movies, looks up to him as an actor, probably saw Pollock and was like, that's the kind of movie I want to do someday. I want to do Milk Money, I want to do Pollock.
Yeah.
And now his reps are telling him, hey, Ed Harris did one of these QR code scams, and my best friend Zoe.
Mm-hmm.
So when we put this in front of you going forward, you got to at least read it. You got to read the script for the scam.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and see if it's a scam that you're willing to put your face and your name to.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think this is I did not know that this scam was happening.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that now we know about the scam.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Jim Caviezel doing a scam video, at the end of a movie is way different than Ed Harris.
Yeah.
I mean, you got an Oscar winner, respected actor.
Yeah.
And you got Caviezel.
And you got and the modern day rising stars, like a Chalamet, like an Austin Butler, they are not going to care that Jim Caviezel did a scam. They're going to say, okay, yeah, it's low rent. But now that Ed Harris is doing him, I think now you've got these up and coming new generation of movie stars who will consider doing these post credit QR code scams.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, very exciting. So thank you, wannabe oh boy David from SJ from South Jersey, for giving us that info. That's great. We got an email from Sean the alcoholic, and his email subject is wanna be BO family.
Okay.
Hey guys, listening back to Pat's mom joining the show a few weeks back. I'm on a current pod void. I was moved to the point that I am writing this email. I am envious of Clayton because for anyone who has lost their mom or is missing their mom, spending time with the mother of a great friend is such a pleasure, provided, of course, the mom is nice and obsessed with the box office. As for Clayton's mom, I hope she is alive and thriving. Unless corrected, I always assumed it is Sigourney Weaver.
Mm-hmm.
Best, Sean, alcoholic.
Yeah.
So, obviously, my mom, great guest. She'll be back. She's loving hearing all of these rave reviews from the listeners. It's really getting to her head.
Yeah.
So she's loving that. But let's give an update, Clayton. Your mom is alive and well.
Yeah.
Okay. And is thriving.
And
is Sigourney Weaver.
Yes.
Wow.
I don't like to tout it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like you might be having a laugh.
Ripley's Believe It or Not.
But if that were true, and I have never met your mom, so I can't actually confirm. If that
you don't have a story of how you met my mother.
I do not have that. Or I do not have a story of how I met your dad.
No. Which did not succeed.
Did not succeed. So
well, my dad is Huey Lewis and my mom is Sigourney Weaver.
So I can't confirm any of that.
No.
But if that is the case, it would really behoove you to get your mom on the show. Because as great as my mom was as a guest, she's not bringing decades of film fans to listen.
And my mom has genuine box office, which yours doesn't.
She does not.
Yeah, and that's nothing against her.
No,
obviously.
no. I mean, I wish she did, but she didn't. So if you actually have a mother who is a movie star, which again I can't confirm because I've never met any of your relatives.
Yeah. And she is. I mean, she was.
I kind of have never met anyone who was in your life from before when I met you, which is now interesting to say out loud.
I don't think that's true.
It's close to true, but definitely not family members.
No.
It's just a very Bob Dylan rolling into town, and you start to wonder, what is the deal with this guy?
Mm-hmm.
Situation with you.
Yeah. Well, you know the circus background.
Yeah.
You know I learned how to podcast from a strong man.
Yeah, I mean that all could be true or all could be myth, and the possibility of you having been a serial killer is on the table, as is you being a genius who grew up in the circus. Like all of these things are on the table because I none of us know anything about you from any point before when we met you.
Yeah.
Including having met your parents.
Yes.
So I do hope your mom is alive and thriving.
She is. She was just in Avatar a couple years ago.
Okay. That could be true.
Yeah.
The emailer who's never met you
Uh-huh.
does have as much ability to know who your mother is as I do.
Yeah.
Which I guess is how it should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, total stranger should know as much about my family as you do. Somebody I've known for 13 years.
Yes. So that is what we could report on your family is who knows.
Yeah.
And
alive and well, but who knows?
Alive and well, who knows?
That we know, but otherwise, who knows?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Which is not unnerving at all.
No, shouldn't be.
So there you go. But you have podcasted with my mom.
I have. It was lovely.
So yeah. So I'm glad that Sean the alcoholic got so much out of that.
Yeah.
And maybe he will get something out of hearing your mom on the show someday. Or probably won't.
You have to go through her PR rep.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So that is the mailbag as I have it. And anything else, Clayton, that you don't think we covered on this episode that you want to get to?
I'm good.
You're good?
Yeah.
All right.
Tell your man I'm good.
So, of course, email us, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. We love getting your emails, your boots on the ground reporting. Great boots on the ground reporting about my best friend Zoe. That was great.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Of course, we love getting your inquiries about our families and our past, which some of us can answer easily and some of us...
I'd prefer less of that, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So send us those emails, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Of course, we are YouTubers. Hey, guys.
Hey, guys.
So subscribe, watch the videos on YouTube. If you're watching right now, you're seeing us in our lovely studio at BOHQ. You're seeing Clayton in that fucking hat. And the shades are back.
Mm-hmm.
So you are seeing that if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to the Substack. New article just went up on Mickey 17, not a review. That's up there. Lots more coming in the days to come. Follow us on social media at the BO Boys Pod on Instagram, on TikTok. Wanna BO VP of Interns Christopher's killing it with these vertical clips. And now he's going to have such great footage from this episode to stack, to make vertical on our social media. And I think that is all I got.
Pat, I finished.
Wow, okay.
And you've said it all.
Yep.
There's nothing left to be said.
Nothing, so I could get out of this chair.
Except for, until next time,
we'll smell you at the box office. Nailed it.